I'm Deborah Emerson, and I'm thrilled to have you here today for an exciting and heartfelt episode. We'll be diving into the heart and soul of art making, inspiration. And today I'm delighted to have a special guest artist, San Francisco Bay Area painter Mary Lou Dauray, who joins us to share her art journey and insights about inspiration. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's get inspired together. Welcome, Mary Lou. What a pleasure
Oh,
to have you here with us today.
thank you, Deborah. I'm so excited to be in conversation with you and
Great.
sharing some of the aspects of being an artist through the years. So thank you for inviting me.
Sure, Mary Lou. And a caveat, Mary Lou and I have been friends for 30 years through the interior design field and also art. And we just have always clicked. So you're a natural guest to be on this Smartist Studio Series. So I'm delighted to have you. Mary Lou, to start off, can you give the viewers some background on your art and how you began your journey into the art world?
Definitely. I was thinking deeply about this because it goes way back many years to my family. And we always read about how your DNA can carry whatever creative genes and a whole bunch of other genes through the generations. And in my situation, my mother, first of all, used to make these little dioramas of cabins and outdoor places, and those were so cute. And in my father's family, he and my uncle, they started a textile business where I remember as a child, they would take yarn and steam it over a kettle in the kitchen, just trying to do different things with the yarn to make it more exciting, like mixing lurex and or all these metallics and all these different things in the yarn. And I could remember the smell of the lanolin. It was just, I could probably recreate the smell if I had to. And it was very exciting to see that and to hear them talk about developing something new. And they were one of the first ones in the 50s to develop Banlon, which is a composite of nylon crimped onto wool to make the yarn bigger. And eventually Banlon became woven into t-shirts, and now Banlon's out of the picture, but it was the beginning of the synthetic yarn development, which is so exciting. So after that episode with my father and my uncle and the family, my father developed a silkscreen business. And that was also so thrilling because he would hand cut the stencils, and he was the beginning person who created the souvenir linen towels that you see everywhere. In fact, the other day I was walking around Sausalito and there were some towels hanging on, in the store, and my father's company's name was still on it. And that's what, how many years ago? A lot. So I was enthralled with watching the silk screen process and seeing him cut it and creating designs. So that was all part of my youth. And then going further into my years, I really wanted to go to Rhode Island School of Design desperately. But my family said, nope, you become a hippie. Can you imagine in those days? No, you'll become a hippie.
They were right.
I wish later, 50
A
years,
little.
I'm a hippie. So I didn't go to RISD. And I was really distraught about that. As it was this great big desire to do art or textile design. And so I majored in poli-sci, which was, I thought, what can I take that's the exact opposite, more or less? And then I worked in that field for a while, for a long time, and then became a mother of 4 children. And that kind of diverted my energies away from creating art. However, being a mother with a lot of children, every day, every moment is creative. There's no way around that. And you can create a meal out of nothing sometimes, but you have to use your creative genes. And I did have little classes for kids in my house, boys and girls. Little girls would, I didn't mean to separate them gender-wise, but when you have a group of boys trying to learn art, they can focus for 20 minutes and then they're outside doing whatever. And the girls are a little bit more focused. And I also realized that I had classes that were like, okay, everything we're going to do today is yellow. So that was fine. But the day I did red, oh my God, the energy level was all over the place. It was really, it was I was a learning experience, I can tell you that. And even to this day, red to me is a very powerful color. So as time went on, I began to do more traveling. Um, I would sketch when I could. I would paint when I could. And when I traveled, I began to absorb what I was seeing. I have instances where, for example, we went to Jordan and I will I painted a picture of the first sculpture that was ever made in the world. It was very exciting to do that. This is years later now. We're talking when I'm in my 50s and traveling to Iceland and to the Far East, etc. It all filled my repertoire of thinking and listening, which is one of the important aspects of creativity. So I will leave it at that. That's my background.
Wow, Mary Lou. So inspiration is such a crucial part of our process as artists. So it comes from nature, personal experiences, emotions, and more. What does inspiration mean to you as an artist?
As an artist, I don't focus on, wow, today I'm inspired,
Mhm.
but it's a gentle process. I think the most important aspect of inspiration is being alert,
Mhm.
being aware, and listening.
Mhm.
Listening not only with your ears, but with your eyes, and taking in what you see. I mean, not just your mind elsewhere, just really focusing. And then eventually, for example, when we went to Jordan and I saw this statue, it took a couple months. I came home and I thought, I really want to paint this statue. It was with no eyes, no nothing. It was a very odd piece of sculpture. And I just listened to that. Okay, do it. So I did it. It's just, I'm very open to these processes that are popping into my mind. And I have found throughout my whole art career that I don't stop. If an idea comes in, I work with it. I don't question it. I just work with it. And through my work, you'll see on my website, I have a lot of different series. And all of these series were inspired by either travel, by conversation, by current events, by climate change, by pollution, a variety. I mean, the list is endless, but somehow it made its way, these ideas, these inspirations made their way into my mind, my body, and my hand, and it went onto either paper or canvas.
So I would call it intuition. Would you agree? A little bit, you're intuiting like you get a hunch and then and for me, and I'm not putting this on you, but for me, I get like that similar what you just described, sort of a feeling of I need to do this and then a hunch. And it's almost like turning a flashlight on inside of me that says you've been given this inspiration. Let's
Mhm.
do something with it. Let's share it. Let's manifest it.
I think the manifesting is a good term. I question, well, why, for example, the night that Bush was elected, many years ago, I
Mhm.
said, I have got to do a painting about this. And I just did it.
Mhm.
Um, I manifested this artwork, which you will be able to see. And other travels, sometimes it doesn't happen immediately, like that happened immediately. Sometimes it takes months for an idea or a desire to use art as my voice
Mhm.
actually becomes my voice.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not really fun. You'll see some pieces. I worked on nuclear situation, which highly disturbs me. The possibilities or just awful. And working with that topic was very challenging for me, just thinking about what can happen. And as an artist, I say, okay, I get inspired to do something, I'm going to do something nuclear. I'm not a scientist. How do I deal with this? Well, I broke my leg, fortunately, and I was in bed for 3 months. So I did a lot of research on this. And it is a process. The inspiration creates an avenue to travel on if I want to, and have something that is made at the end.
Interesting metaphor, like a map.
Hmm.
Creates like a road map of where to go. And we don't really know where it's headed and what the sights are going to be along the way and what is going to motivate us to paint again or create our art again along that trip. Very
Hmm.
interesting. And how inspiration can not only be happy and joyful and upbeat, but deeply painful, sorrow, sadness. I mean, it's the gambit of what affects our soul, I think.
It
You know,
definitely is. And I was in thinking about our conversation today, another example, I guess you could call it. It's almost like every inspiration I had to do something, wherever it came from, it was like a piece of the puzzle. And the puzzle piece fit into my life. So my life is, I have no idea how many puzzle pieces are in my life. Could be a two-piece puzzle, or it could be thousands of pieces. But the artwork is definitely a chunk of puzzle piece that fits into my overall life. And the series that I have done, which you'll see a lot of them on my website, relate to current events, to sorrow, to war, example, definitely to climate change, to pollution, to burning of fossil fuels, the things that really either bother me or need to be expressed in my voice. But I love the idea of a piece of a puzzle, like it just fits into whatever this puzzle is going to look like when it's finished.
And I also think as an artist, our lives are complex and multifaceted and they're ever changing. And
Hmm.
that's what makes it exciting because we don't know what's the next thing. Um, I was going to talk to you about this a little bit later, but I'm going to talk now. There's a term called artivism, and it's kind of where art becomes activism. And I see you and what your different series have been about is definitely being art artivism. I can barely say it.
Hard, yeah.
What's your take on that? Have you heard this term before? And do you consider yourself an artivist?
I love the term. I haven't heard it before. Um, I think you are the creator of that wonderful word.
No, I'm
Sure.
not. I
You're not
created the smartest, smart artist,
the
not
smartest.
the other one. So
So
you
cute.
should do a little research when we hang up. It's a thing. And
It's a
so
thing.
I really think that what you're doing is actually artivism.
It is, sometimes some of my art, I think definitely is. But it's not like the spiral jetty out in the Salt Lake, or uh, some other creative things outdoors that represents an active example of, hey, we have to get rid of climate change, or this is an example of burning fossil fuels. My work is a little quieter, but there is definitely that desire in what I'm doing that more people will look at this and say, whoa, there's something going on here that is either about the melting of ice or pollution or something. So I have a little example here. I'll show you right now. Um, when I went to Iceland, I was enthralled by the clean air, and it really made me realize, well, they have clean air. The rest of the world is in trouble. and also the melting of ice and the glaciers that are melting there. And we saw icebergs, little ones, floating down the river more and more all the time. So here's an example of an iceberg I did. There we go. And my work, this was what I would consider beautiful, but people will say, hopefully, where did that come from? How did you get that idea? And I have a whole series of icebergs. And how they started was actually pretty interesting. When I had gone to Iceland, I came home and I was so concerned to begin about the plastic in the oceans and the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, whatever they call them now, because they're growing and growing. And I'm painting away with acrylics, which is a plastic-based paint. So on my palette, I had the acrylic, you mush around your paint all over the place, and then it dries on your palette. So I'll show you a piece here. For example, this is like,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh my God, this is going to go into the ocean, this plastic, I thought, And so what I started doing with this, I started making collages. I took it off and I started making collages. And these turned into icebergs and they turned into all kinds of things. But that was that was inspiration. That was the beginning of series about the burning of fossil fuel, the burning of plastic. I mean, the accumulation of plastic everywhere. One thing led to another. And I'm I definitely was trying to get the word out. We do not need any more plastics, et cetera, et cetera. So that could be called artivism. And another artivism, quote, artivism, situation was at one point when I was working with studying nuclear power and the problems associated with it. The Fukushima Daiichi meltdown in Japan happened, and very serious, major cover up, still extremely dangerous. So I did a whole series on Fukushima, which you can see. And then after that, after I do a series, I stop with that series because I feel I can't do anymore. I mean, that was painful doing that one. So then I thought, okay, where can I go now? And I did a series just about uranium, studying where the nuclear power came from. And I broke my ankle. So Mother Nature was helping me here. And I had a lot of time to study about uranium rocks, um, the uranium mining in the Congo, which decimated a lot of the people there, the uranium waste in our country, in St. George and all the area, the Four Corners, the polluting of the water because of the uranium mining. So I did a whole series on uranium rocks. Now, it's kind of odd, but the point was, okay, this is where uranium comes from. Do we really need to keep digging this out of the ground, etc.? And they call it the yellow death or something like that because it's very poisonous. Obviously, you hear about it, and now they're trying to revive the idea of uranium, of nuclear power. It's a very potent problem in our world. So my work isn't like stop with uranium, although I did a whole series a little bit heavy with heads, which I'll show you, that depicted uranium problems. But I'm not out there with a megaphone. I'm doing my artwork, hopefully will resonate with some people.
Wow, Mary Lou. So there's nothing, you said quiet earlier. You're quiet about it. You must get your inspirations quietly, but I don't see anything quiet about what you're creating. I mean, this is really powerful, and I've always felt that you are brave as an artist. You really put yourself out there, and you're very brave to be creating, these are really big, loaded political topics that you're addressing. So go, girl.
Yeah, I don't consider myself brave. It just, I have to do it. And They are. The nuclear situation it's at the top of the list along with fossil fuels. So that fossil fuel story, I will go into that a little bit. If you want to talk about inspiration, is an interesting story. So I have a daughter who lives right at the border of North Carolina and Virginia, right at the edge of the Blue Ridge Parkway in Floyd, Virginia. I recommend everyone go visit Floyd. It's great for music and pottery and all. In any case, one Thanksgiving, we were there at the one hotel in Floyd, and there was a woman cleaning the tables, and it was Thanksgiving Day. And I said, well, oh, what are you going to do today? And she said, well, I'm going to go visit my family in Bud. I thought, Bud. I had never heard of Bud. I didn't even know where it was. And it's in West Virginia, apparently. As soon as I said, oh, great, have a good time. And then I went up and Googled Bud. Where's Bud? And it turns out that Bud is this little town up in the mountains up there. There's no running water. The water is, if there is running water, is completely polluted with the toxic waste from coal mining.
Mm.
And I was shocked. I mean, it's like a third world country. And so the next day she was back, and I said, oh, I have to be very careful. You have to be careful when you talk with people. You know, you don't want to say, ah, rotten, whatever. And I said, what did you do for water? And she said, they have to bring bottled water. They have to go visit and bring their own bottled water. So that began my journey to study the effects of coal mining and burning in that area and also around the world. And another part of that story, if there's another inspiring moment, was I was up in Idaho, Sandpoint, Idaho, and they have these major long rail cars. I mean, I counted them, 216 cars open with coal on them.
Mm.
So the coal dust just flies all over the place, and that's filled with arsenic and a whole lot of toxic minerals. And if any of those trains should tip over, especially in the Northwest, which is beautiful, beautiful region, you can just imagine the environmental impact. So that added fuel to my fire to do paintings about coal. So here are some examples. I did a little show with Appalachian Voices this fall in San Francisco, where we tied together the work that Appalachian Voices is doing regarding the Mountain Valley Pipeline, about coal, et cetera, and tying in my coal paintings. And that was the first vocal, I mean, really out there exhibit of my work dealing with coal. And I guess you could call that artivism. And it was written up, they wrote about it in their newspaper. And I don't know what's the next step will be with my coal paintings. Oh, I did have a show at the Sausalito Library about coal and about the burning of really toxic bunker fuel on cruise ships and related that to the pollution in the air from the burning of fuel, fossil fuel of any type. So yeah, that's our art activism. I never thought about it that way though.
Very much. So, wow, Mary Lou. And I want to say that I do come to your place and I see your studio and your works in progress. And I'm always so impressed with you. You create these series and you see them through. And it's always a powerful series. There's nothing light. Sometimes there is, but you're like taking on some really big topics. And I would say your inspiration to voice these issues and these social problems and things that are concerning for all of us. Like you're raising the awareness of these issues. And I just find that so admirable. And also your use of color has always been amazing. You have just a delicious freedom with color. I love color too. So I really appreciate that put a lot of color in your work.
Well, to go opposite of what you're saying,
Okay.
but thank you for what you
All
were
right.
saying.
You got it.
Yeah, my latest series is a tough one. It's about trauma.
Mm,
And there are many reasons why I started this series. It's all black and white,
mm,
it's not my normal way of doing things. And they're black and white drawings. And here's an example. Um, Eventually, well, how can I describe this? Eventually, I want to there may be 60 of these drawings that I've done. And in the process of doing them, it was very meditative. And they're all lines and based on primarily nature. And we just went up to see the redwoods up in Humboldt County. And I came back and did about 6 or 7 drawings based on the sanctity and peacefulness of these redwood trees
mm,
and the area around there. And my plan is to promote the idea that drawing can be one facet in the healing of trauma, PTSD, whatever it is that has been caused by trauma. And as we listen and look at what's going on in the world, I cannot even imagine how millions of people are going to be able to work with themselves to overcome the the despair and the depression caused by trauma. Abuse within families, misogyny. I won't go into all details. You all know all these details. So this little effort of mine, I'm not finished yet. Usually when I'm finished with this series, it's because I've exhausted all I can do with it. But what I want to do with this little booklet that I want to create, which I've never done before, and I don't even know how to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. Anyway, is to have a drawing on one side and a quote on the other page that relates somehow to the drawing, but a quote that deals with healing and healing from war or trauma, and also maybe hope, how we can have hope. And there are a lot of books out there about this now, and people are examining the brain and how this affects the brain and how drawing can help heal areas in the brain to overcome some of these feelings that have been created within the brain. There's a topic called neuro arts, which I'm just beginning to investigate, and it has to do with the nerve area, the nerves and art and how that works together. And if it can heal not only trauma, but Alzheimer's effects and dementia and isolation, a whole lot of in community gatherings, etc. I mean, this is a very, very important topic right now. And as I said, I'm not finished yet. Usually when I'm finished a series. So right now I'm trying to figure out how to put the booklet together. I just did my last drawings the other day. So, and it's black and white. So it's a complete departure. Like every one of my series almost has a different way of it being expressed. So I don't know if I would call that art activism. I think I'm firmly of the belief that art can heal and can help heal. And I'll give you some names of books. I just finished reading The Body Holds a Score, where your body holds your trauma forever, unless you can actually, not unless, hopefully you can be aware of that and maybe do some things such as art. It doesn't have to be drawing. It can be music is wonderful, theater,
mhm.
dancing. Um, that to me is art, creativity. The same, to me, it's the same little ball. So that's my latest.
Wow, Mary Lou. I read this book called Your Brain on Art.
Yes,
You know that one?
I do.
Yeah.
And hopefully someday I will meet these. It's an excellent book. And that's another book to go on the list for
Mhm.
people to read. One woman, one
They're
lives in
Bay Area, I
Bay
think.
Area people. Well, one,
Francisco Bay
yes,
Area.
MIT, and one is a designer at Google.
Correct.
Um, anyway, we're working, we're just beginning phases of working with that right now. But our whole planet, goodness sakes, is traumatized by a variety of things everywhere. So I'm working with that
You're
somehow in my
addressing
little way.
you're addressing kind of, Mary Lou. Well, you and I have always talked about the spiritual path and this touches more than just art here. We're talking the healing is the more we heal our traumas, our hurts, our issues, our patterns, the more high our vibration shifts as a human being, as a vessel of consciousness, but as artists as well. And
Mhm.
I think when we are vibing at a higher frequency, people pick up on that and they feel it and it permeates our life. And I think you're talking about someone can just pick up a pen or a
Mhm.
pencil. It's very simple and find a piece of paper. Everyone is an artist, I believe. Everyone. There's the thing that's different between you and I is we took the risk to follow the pencil and the pen and the brush or the computer and to find out where it would go. This is
Mhm.
all it is. It's like I keep going back to that turn the flashlight on inside yourself and
Mhm.
give it a voice. And it's beautiful when we clear those roadblocks of trauma and stuff and junk and patterns. It's so liberating and it's so joyful to step beside all that crap. And but you're facing it again. You're facing some right now. And it's it's intense and it's powerful and bravo. And then
Mhm.
what will come out will just stay tuned because something always does with you. So it's
Mhm.
really pretty interesting to see all these different, this is inspiration. Where is inspiration going to take you next? We
I
don't
have no idea. I don't know. One of the things with this art of trauma healing and art as a healer is it also helps be thinking seriously well, I'm thinking seriously of doing it, of working with aging and with people who are older, how they can stay alive and lively longer through doing art. I mean, it's not just looking at it, it's actually engaging. For example, if you're stuck, and this is what I read in this book, okay, try doing improv. And
Mhm,
you have to get out of yourself,
mhm,
even if you're 80 years old,
mhm.
and whoa, wow, I can do that. You know, anything that engages I don't know what the creative nerve is in the human being, and there are a whole lot of parts that work together.
Mhm.
But as we age, I think it's crucial that you don't just take in from TV and movies and social media. You have to move inside and get it out,
Percent.
especially with aging. Yeah,
Mm.
any age, even little kids. Ah, it's great for them. Yeah.
And little kids will do improv with you any day of the week.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
professionals.
I
So
was thinking, I was looking at a video yesterday in the New York Times about a surfer from South Africa. Brilliant. His father taught him, and he's a person of color, which is highly unusual for a person of color to be involved with the whole gang of surfers. And he's now retired. He's a fantastic surfer, and he's teaching little kids how to surf. And I was thinking, I would put surfing in the creative arena because you use all your senses. You have to figure out what to do with the wave and what the wave's going to do to you and the water. And so that's another, well, someone's going to say, you crazy? Surfing is creative. It's an art.
it
Yes,
is.
it is.
As is cooking,
Mhm.
singing, walking can even be creative if you are using it as a meditative way, or, you know, maybe that's not the best example, but you
But
create.
it's an example.
Yes, and creativity just comes in so many different ways, and it doesn't just have to be painting a picture. or I mean, it's how you and I have had a friendship. We've had a very creative and rich friendship. And it's every time we come together, it's always this cool dance of different conversations. And it's so stimulating for me, I know. And it's wonderful. So creativity for me, and what I'm hearing from you is there is no box.
Yeah.
There is no defined, this is creativity. It
Mhm.
just is, and it's magical.
It's actually, as you're talking, I'm thinking, I'm going to plug into the sky. You know, it's everywhere.
Mhm.
And speaking of which, what you're wearing today is very creative, and it's part of your a company. I mean, you want to talk about that a little bit?
This is actually one of my images, my AI art images. This is oyster mushrooms.
Oh, okay.
And I just think it's the coolest. And I'm working with a company that I know that you're dabbling in, La Galeriest, and I can do a whole program on that. And maybe once you get your piece, your
Mhm.
sample piece, we can revisit that and go over that and talk about that. But yes, I'm thrilled. You've known me a long time. I've been doing digital art and plants for a million years, but to marry the two and be able to create a high quality textile that I'm proud to wear,
Amazing.
it's really thrilling for me. So I got these last week. So
Oh,
I'll be wearing one of these probably every time I'm on YouTube because it just feels so good to be wearing something that I made.
and you designed, and it was your painting or your AI, and
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. And
Anybody could do this.
anybody. It's just you got to do the research, you got to do the put your boots to the ground and do the hard work and the lifting, but it's possible. And that's why part of what I'm trying to do here is teach people, artists especially, how to gather some new tools at this changing time with technology to take it further. I mean, your stuff is so, I'm not saying your Cole series and your nukes, I wouldn't wear those, but you have so much art in your place and that's so colorful and delicious that I could totally wear your art. Just so you,
Oh, I have a whole other thing during the pandemic. Is talk about how everyone was, it was the best time of my, not say best in my life, but close to it. Great time to be creative.
isn't that amazing that two,
So
3
amazing.
years later, we can look at that and
Ah,
have that perspective? Good for you. Okay, go.
well, we created a friend of mine, Gail, and we created a cookbook
Yes.
called the Pandemonium Cookbook. And we did two of them. Poor Gail, she did all the hard work, Gail Horvath. It was a great way to create. But the other aspect in the art world there is I took a class from a woman in Canada, Janice Mason Steves is her name, and she talked a lot about nature. I mean, everyone was stuck inside about awe, how we could walk around in a state of awe and wonder and how to design that on a piece of canvas or paper. It was an extraordinary learning time, and I did a stack of designs and paintings, and it was a marvelous moment in 3 years or 2 years, however long it was, to do a lot of creative work. So that's, in other words, you can take an event like a broken leg or whatever, COVID, even having COVID if you're not too sick, to use that time because you're kind of in an altered state anyway. And I don't do drugs or any of that, but it's when you can be very open. You're not you're not like during the pandemic, unless you have COVID, of course, you had COVID or friends were really sick, but it was an opportunity. And as an artist, you grab every opportunity, sometimes unconsciously, to use it down the line. I believe you don't even know that you're doing that, but it does come forth.
Mhm. No, I completely agree. It slows us down
Yep.
to turn us within.
Yes.
The thing you were saying about nature, I mean, I'm doing all plant images. I've worked with plants. I've loved plants for 50 years of my life, basically. And I've been intimate looking at plants really close up, and I get what they are, what they want me to tell people. And I feel like I'm a little bit of a medium for the plants to get
Mm.
their voices out so that people will tune into nature more. And we kind of, in another venue, you and I talked about positive AI. And
Mhm.
I really think that we're online so much in our society now, in our world, and people are sitting too much. And sitting is the new smoking.
Mm.
To get back to the garden, right? And
Mhm.
back to nature. And so what you just described, this gal doing
Mhm.
this work, I mean, it just reminds us all, and that's what I'm hoping to inspire in people. Like, nature has a lot of answers for us if
It
we just
does.
get back outside, or interior plants and, you know.
So your pictures, I was lucky enough to see some of them, that your AI generated images. What astonished me was I felt I was looking at actually the interior of the leaves, the interior of the cells of the plants, and that even though they are green, but they have these colors within them. AI doesn't, it has to pull from someplace. And so I do have a question. Do you think what you're doing is artivism?
Maybe for environmental awareness,
Mhm.
yes, except that I don't know. I don't feel like it's the same because I'm like looking at a really long path with this.
Mhm.
Your series, you kind of are using it till you're done with the voice telling you, and then you're doing another thing. So I don't know, maybe I am, maybe I am. I mean, I'm
Maybe.
all about sustainability. My business is a green business. I've been like this for years. I mean, I since 2002 in Marin County, we were the first green business in Marin. So
Mm.
I've been green for a long, long time in the design work that I did. So probably, Mary Lou, I just see you having more of a pronounced artivism.
Mhm.
So yeah, you've
But
given me something to think about.
I don't actually think of it like that. I just think, but that's okay. Just do what I have to do.
So, yeah, what kind of rituals do you do to sustain your inspiration? Like, do you have personal rituals? Do you get your pump primed? Do you go to your studio and kind of take a few breaths? And how do you have this kind of thing, or do you?
I occasionally, in the past, I did. There's a woman, I can't pronounce her first name, Makael Wright, Wright, who has created in Virginia a garden, and it's called Paralandra. And she has workbooks about how you can, there's a certain ritual that you follow. You open up, you can take drops or not. I mean, it's nothing, it's just nature. But you open up to a nature guide, so to speak, or a nature input before you do your work.
Are you talking about drops of like flower essences,
It's
like the
close to that,
flower remedies or essential
kind of.
oils?
No, they're
Okay.
not essential oils. They're drops of a liquid like water or something that she has personally sent her energy into, I guess is the
Like
best way to put it.
blessed or
Yeah, and I'll give you the name of a book that just, I mean, a lot of books that she's written. But when I would do that, it would take about 5, 10 minutes. It would really focus me in a different kind of way. And I did that, especially when I was doing my iceberg series. That was a real process. Nowadays, since I seem to not have much time, I just go into it. So I don't have a slight ritual. If it's cloudy and terrible out, I light a candle. But basically, it's like I switch and I kind of open up my mind. But I miss not doing that ritual. I think I'm gonna have to go back. into doing that. It takes a little extra time
Mhm.
and a little extra focus at the beginning.
Mhm.
And I think it would really be helpful for me because I'm kind of, it's aside from doing these drawings on trauma. Yeah, I might, that's really good. Thank you for asking that question. Time
Do
to
you
go back.
also use music, Mary Lou, when
I
you?
do, I
I
do.
definitely have music on when I'm creating. I find it to be really inspirational and relaxing.
I love music, and um, since all these things have gone on in the last few years, I've learned a lot about how much creativity goes into making music, the creators of music. Oh my gosh. And one person I really like that my son put me in touch with is Nick Cave.
Oh, yeah.
And he has the Red Hand Files, I think it's called. He has a newsletter that is extremely profound. And he talks about creativity, etc. I didn't realize it. I lived in my own little world, and now it feels like it's stretching open more, great. And especially with musicians and composing music and writing music. And the other person I like is Jacob Collier, who is living in another dimension. I'm mentioning these people because I hope some of you go look them up. Absolutely astonishing, very much of today. It's almost like his mind is an AI mind
Mm.
in creating music. So I do listen, and it's usually very calming music. Like my husband says, why don't you put on some jazz and things like that to make happy paintings? But I do listen to music. That's a long-winded answer to that question.
Beautiful. Mary
Mhm.
Lou, can you give some advice to artists who might be struggling to find inspiration?
Um, hmm. The easiest thing would be to just take a pencil and paper and just start moving it on the piece of paper. Or if it's music, just playing your guitar or whatever it is, whatever, blowing into a recorder. Just the first step
Mm-hmm.
is a big step.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel good. I mean, you just feel good. So then you go a little further. And there are books out there, The Artist's Way. Yeah, it's a definite 6-week program.
Bible.
Yes, and she has a new book out.
Mhm. Julia
Um,
Cameron.
exactly.
Mm.
And the new book is actually it's based more on intuition, which is quite, she said that she was never going to write about that because people would think she's kind of woo-woo. But I bought it and I worked on it for not enough, but you still do your morning pages, but it does open you up and
Mhm.
calms you down. And it's very helpful to have a book like that to get going. And if you feel blocked, all I can say is just start, even if it's one dot on a piece of paper or one note. You're changing something in your mind to actually create.
Mhm. I want to mention one that I really like that's not about artwork, but it's writing, and it's Wild Mind, Natalie Goldberg.
Oh
Are you
yeah.
familiar with that? And you
Mhm.
do the 10-minute timed writing, and there's no editing, no punctuation, nothing. And you just pick something like, my shirt, mushroom, and just start mushrooms, mushroom, and whatever. You just start talking about mushrooms, and all of a sudden, the craziest stories that you remember in your mind come out. And suddenly you're in this, you started with mushrooms, mushroom, and you're now on this wild, I'm in a market in Thailand or something. And these crazy, wonderful memories come out of these timed writings. And that can be a way to like lubricate the creative muscle and get going. And so it doesn't always have to be just like a drawing. It can be a song or like we just said earlier, a meal, a photograph, something some friend said to us, or an impression of a sunset, or it's so cool like that.
Cool. And for example, too, you could take a course. This woman I mentioned in Canada, Janice Mason Steves, she has, uh, they're not even really, I would consider outings, but she takes groups of people, not many, like 6 to 8 to 10, to way far away places. I did actually one of her classes in Spain, right along the Camino, where people walk to the Santiago Cathedral. And we were, what, 8 or 9 people. Just being with a group of people is inspirational
Mm.
and motivational and calming and safe. And we worked with natural pigments from the ground. And you're also with other people. You're not alone. And that could be another way to get going again.
Yeah, we used to have this thing where I would make jewelry with a friend, and we had a teacher on Tuesday nights, and we called it Stitch and Bitch. And it was just making art together and listening to music and talking. And it's just a fertile place to do our thing. And
So
it was wonderful. And we did it for a long time. And I still have a fond, Stitch and Bitch. I just think like that. It's a funny thing to say, but it's really what happens, and it's rich.
Mhm.
So, well, Mary Lou, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your time, your insights, your spirit, your wisdom, your art.
Mhm.
I certainly enjoyed our time here. It's been really inspiring, and I hope people get jazzed to look into artivism and some of these book titles and look up your work on the internet. And you're just so lovely to talk to, and I will be seeing you soon
Good.
in our
Thank you so
regular
much.
life. Yes, and I want to tell people what to expect coming up and thank everybody for joining us. And don't forget to subscribe so that you get all the episodes of the Smartest Studio Series. In the next episode, we're going to dive into AI script writing. And
Mm.
script writing is crucial for any artist using AI to create a really great image and a narrative that has the visual results that you're after. So we're going to explore how to craft AI scripts, and this was inspired by Mary Lou, your friend Susan, who asked a really good question the other day. So I felt like I'm going to dive into this and teach people how to enhance your skills to obtain the results using AI that you want. And we're going to use, I always say it's using words like a paintbrush.
Mm.
So that's coming up, and I probably will do that by myself in the next Smartest Studio series. So stay tuned.
You too. Thank you so
Oh,
much
you're
for having
welcome,
me
Mary
here.
Lou. Have a
Thank you.
great week, everybody. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.